Hello everyone, in my review of the DJI Pocket 2, I mentioned that I really appreciated the addition of a wide-angle lens inside of the Creator Combo Kit. But to be honest, I never really used it in the end because I either had to choose between using a wide-angle lens or using an ND filter because they don't work together. Freewell has fixed this problem, but before talking about that solution, let's roll the intro. For those of you who are new to this channel, I'm Bellemare-Alford, a young photographer and filmmaker on a journey to become better at this art. A few weeks ago, Freewell reached out to offer me to review their unreleased wide-angle lens and anamorphic lens, but what really caught my attention is actually that they also support ND filters. Freewell doesn't pay me to do this video, doesn't get to see the video before you do, so it's my unbiased review and test of these lenses. Now let's start with some B-roll of me doing some cross-country skiing. What do you think of that footage? Pretty good, right? I forgot to change the image to 4K and also forgot to change the picture profile to decent-like, so it's a little bit over-sharpened and also missing some detail at the same time, but it still gives a pretty good idea of how the filter works. Now let's talk about why I'm so excited to get this lens and these filters. The reason is that ND filters or neutral density filters are super important to get more cinematic video. I made a complete video on why they're so important and how to use them using the DJI Pocket 2, so go check that one out if you want to learn more about that. Now the big question is, how did they solve this problem? You're going to see it's quite clever. If you come here inside of the pack, you can remove the lens and put it on your camera like you normally would. Now if you want to add an ND filter, you simply have to take it off the magnets here, and I like taking it off and putting it on the other side right here. Then you can take your lens and just simply put it on here, and because it's holding with magnets, it's going to align almost by itself. Then you can just place it perfectly aligned and you're good to go. You have your ND filter on your lens. Then you can simply take this, put it on your camera, and it's going to hold pretty well using the magnets. One thing I'm going to say is that you definitely should put the ND filter on the lens before putting it on the camera, because if you try putting it on the camera directly, it might fall off because the magnets are not too good to hold to the camera, but they're really strong once they are on the lens. So definitely do that step before putting it on the camera. Now let's answer the second most important question, which is how does it compare to the DJI Creator Combo Kit wide-angle lens? I'd already tested both of them and couldn't really find any very noticeable difference between the two images. Freewell didn't send me the whole specifications for this new wide-angle lens, but it seems to be a 50mm equivalent wide-angle lens, which is great when you're vlogging and need to hold the camera not too far from you, but still want to get your head and some parts of your body inside of the shot, not just your head. And also it's great when you just want to have more inside of the shot. Now let's start by testing both wide-angle lens without using an ND filter to really get an idea of how the wide-angle lens actually works. So if we look at both images, we're going to see that the images are very sharp and very detailed, but sometimes in some of the videos, the wide-angle lens from Freewell might be just a little bit less sharp. This might be fog or it might be the autofocus that is missing in some cases, but most of the time, even when we zoom in, we cannot really see a difference inside of sharpness. Another really important thing to look for is if there's any distortion inside of the image. In here, both are really impressive because if you look at the center, you're going to see that pretty much everything is perfectly vertical. And even if you look on the side of the images, everything is still pretty vertical and not that much distorted. This is very impressive because even my 16mm lens from my Canon DSLR has a lot more distortion in the corners. Another thing you want to look for is if there's any color cast, and because this is clear glass, there's no color cast at all, which is great because you're not altering the colors at all when you're using only the wide angle lens. Now let's put the ND filter on and see if it affects the image. Because the ND filter is so close to the glass of the DJI Pocket 2, it actually doesn't affect the sharpness or the distortion of the lens, which is really great. There's a slight color cast, but this is not a big problem because it can be easily fixed in post-processing. But you're gonna see it's really not a big difference, and the color cast is really not that annoying in the end, but that's just to be expected when you have an ND filter or something like that on your main lens. Another pretty important thing to talk about is the autofocus. You can judge by yourself right now by looking at this video because I'm using the autofocus and the wide-angle lens and the ND filter, but with my test, I didn't see any problems at all. Actually, when you put the wide-angle lens on the camera, DJI detects it as being a wide-angle lens just like the one they're selling, so they adjust the camera automatically for the fact that it has a wide-angle lens on the camera, so that's why you're getting no problems at all with the autofocus or anything like that. Another thing is that the results for the autofocus and just in general for how the lens performed didn't surprise me at all. This is because Freewell made a wide-angle lens for the DJI Osmo Pocket that was the most popular and also the one by far that was the best quality. It was so good that even DJI was selling it on its store. So with that in mind, it's not surprising at all that they made a great second generation, but added a much needed improvement, which is also supporting ND filters inside of it, which is a very welcome addition. Are these ND filters or this lens perfect? No, nothing is ever perfect. One of my biggest problems with the ND filters and also the lens is that every time I come and take them out, I always end up touching them with my fingers because they're so small and so hard to handle. Another thing that annoys me is that because they're so small, I'm always dropping them or really scared that when I drop them, I'm going to break them. So this is something to keep in mind when you're using them. It's not really a problem that Freewell can fix because that's the limitation you have using the DJI Pocket 2 because it's just a very small camera and you get smaller accessories that go with it. Now let's talk about the price because this is another really great thing about these lenses. In the configuration they sent me, I have 4 ND filters for bright day, also the wide-angle lens and an anamorphic lens. All of this for $99 US. There's also an option if you want to get only the wide-angle lens with the 4 ND filters, or if you want to get only the anamorphic lens with the ND filters, and these cost $59 US. If we compare to the wide-angle lens from DJI, it costs $50 for only the wide-angle lens. So it's a really good value that you get for the price of these filters because they're super high quality and yet not as expensive as the options from DJI. I'm gonna have some links in the description down below if you want to buy these lenses or these filters. These are gonna be affiliate links, which means I might make some money when you buy them, but this is great because it allows me to grow my channel by making a little bit of money when you buy them. I hope you're as excited about this lens and these filters as I am right now. If you enjoyed this video, please let me know by hitting the like button below, and also consider subscribing by hitting the big red button to get more content on the DJI Pocket 2, photography, and filmmaking. I'm also going to have a link to my playlist about the DJI Pocket 2 because I made much more videos about this small camera. See you in the next one. Bye bye.